boy. It sucks I can't see notifications when I'm live without freezing up the whole podcast. So, what did he say? Shabbat Tov, Good Tevach, Happy Motzash. All right, guys. Saturday night. There's more than enough Islamic, Christian, and Zionist talk out there. Finally, what you've all been waiting for. A little bit about Judaism, right? It's like the Jewish state in this big C called TikTok. Small, simple, okay, to your friends. All right. I hope this is not a troll.
What up, brother?
What's up? What's up? How's it going? You're the first guest of the night.
Oh, all right. Let's make this interesting.
Go.
You tell me why being Jewish is better.
What's the alternative for you?
Okay. Not monotheism. Anything before monotheism. So,
yeah, it's hard for me to pin Judaism against anything that's not an offshoot of it. In particular, right? So if you have some sort of Nordic religion, I don't have much to say about that, with the exception that we are living in a country, right, or the West does take most of its values, not from Nordic religions, but in particular, not only, but in particular, I would say the Jewish Bible, right? The ethics in the Jewish Bible. So that at least, I'm pretty sure, gets you to pay tribute to where your ethics come from, at least, or what influenced ethical era society more than any other system out there. And
empathizing, just general empathizing. If you're not a psychopath or a sociopath, you're born with this shit.
Yeah,
you don't want to die, so you don't want to hurt. You don't want to steal out of the general feeling of not wanting that to happen to you necessarily.
Yeah. It sounds simple to someone who's entrenched in biblical values, right? But when societies did try to reinvent the wheel ethically, what they did in the Soviet Union, they only left a trail of blood and carnage. So I think our religion should start and end within tribute. As long as you acknowledge the foundation, the ethical well that we all feed from in this country, that's really, you could remain
I think
there.
Faith is stronger than God.
But why do you believe?
Wait, hold on, wait a minute. Yeah, your dip, go ahead.
Go ahead. He was on here first. Okay, go ahead, sir.
Well, no, that was about it. I think faith, observation, reflection, faith, and determination. And in this way, we shall navigate the path as it unfolds before us.
Okay.
And that can be in general. That was from, I guess, a preacher. But I took that as faith in the fact that you can change or be better and not be completely hopeless.
Yeah,
that is strong.
In theory, but not in practice. In practice,
the afterlife.
No other system has had as such an ethical track record. You may be absolutely right. I mean,
the goddamn afterlife. It's the eternal.
No, forget about an afterlife. I don't teach an afterlife. I don't teach heaven, hell, Satan. I don't because the Bible doesn't. The Jewish Bible doesn't. I teach ethics, right? Because that's what the Jewish Bible brings to the table.
Why do you not believe in anything called sin?
Right. What about the Christian over here? He's a branch shoot of your original monotheism religion.
Yeah, it's monotheistic, although
he started this.
Like he adopted two notions that don't literally appear in my Bible, and that's heaven and hell. And that's really what gave birth or formed Christianity to what it is today. What?
Okay, yeah. What were you looking for when you disregarded Jesus? I'm just curious on that question.
What was I looking for? I was looking for...
No. Like, when your culture totally disregarded Jesus, you were looking for something specific. You knew he was Jesus. You knew that there was a king coming, but there was something specific that you guys wanted. Some specific laws or some specific rules you wanted. What were you guys looking for?
So, I'm not fully convinced on the idea that we even need a Messiah. But you're talking about colloquially what most Jews believe. Well, most Jews probably don't even acknowledge that Jesus was a
They thought he
actual
was a cult
historical
leader.
character. What?
Well, no, he was real apparently in other documentation, but he was more so a cult leader or magician maybe, but he was a great man and
Wait.
he may
Okay.
have good intentions in what he said, but it does or doesn't mean he wasn't a liar. Was he a walking god?
No,
Is that
no.
believable?
We
Was
can't
Einstein?
prove we can't prove outside of what appears in the New Testament if he even existed. You essentially have the New Testament, a possible forgery that got inserted into Josephus, um, Tacitus and Pliny the Younger, and I think both Tacitus and Pliny the Younger talk about
Josephus
Christian.
was a great
Excuse me,
scholar,
can I
but
ask a question about that actually?
Yeah, go ahead.
Because I've been wondering, so I know like the Old Testament
Stop.
is pretty much the Torah, but like
Stop.
where does the
Don't say
New
that.
Testament, like where does that come from? Or
Okay, hold on. You got these guys off. I think they're
they're a
trolling a
bit
little bit.
weird. Yeah, it's kind of
Yeah.
weird. Very rude actually.
I'm sorry. Here, can you just ask the question again?
So the Old Testament is pretty much the Torah, but what about the New Testament? Like where does that like come from, or where does that?
The book of Matthew.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, no, what? No, I know the Book of Matthew is.
Don't worry about it. All right. Well, so the Old Testament is not necessarily the Torah. The Torah is in what the Christians call the Old Testament, but there's three segments of the Old Testament. There's the writings that we call Ketuvim, and then there's Nevi'im, which are the prophets, and then there is the Torah, the 5 books of Moses.
Not gonna lie, you don't know shit.
You don't know what you're talking about.
You don't know anything.
All
Bunch
right.
of clowns.
So,
Wow.
what? All right, yeah. So, well, the Torah is not the complete what Christians call the Old Testament. I don't even have an issue calling it Old Testament, but yes, Jews typically don't call it that. And the New Testament is a different set of books. We believe it's a different religion, essentially. It
It's
may have
about
had its
Jesus
roots in
coming,
Judaism. What?
It's about Jesus coming.
Yeah. No,
Being born of
I'm
a
trying to
virgin.
give a more
Yeah, I
like
just want to know
simple
like
answer
where
than
it
just saying,
originated from.
Yeah. So it claims to be a fulfillment of everything that appears in the Jewish Bible.
Correct.
But it introduces a lot of notions that don't appear in the Jewish Bible. However, they do exist in rabbinic literature, like notions like heaven, hell, Satan, angels, and all this stuff. At least angels regarding to how they appear in the Torah, which is more physical messengers. Yeah, but it's like any addition. I think the Quran, although it denies it, it also claims to be an addition to the Torah, right? Some sort of fulfillment, right? In the progression of prophecy. I don't know if that answers your question.
I guess I was trying to figure out like where the two diverge. Just like the Old Testament or the Torah is like. Well, I just want to know like why it's separate, pretty much.
Yeah, well, it's because Jews.
Well, it's like the book of Psalms, right? The book of Psalms explains that the Messiah is going to come. He's going to fulfill all these prophecies. And then in the New Testament, Jesus actually does come, and he does fulfill these prophecies.
So Jews don't
That's
believe
what
that the
it's all
book of
about.
Psalms prophesies anything about the Messiah. That's a Christian understanding of the Jewish Bible. That's
Psalm
reading the Jewish
58
Bible
does.
through Christian lenses. So,
Psalm 58 talks about Jesus being crucified.
what? So
Psalm
that's
58, I
what?
mean, he was born in Judah. The Psalms talks about where he's a coming Messiah. Psalm 58 talks about him being crucified 1,000 years before crucifixion was even a death thing, and he fulfilled being crucified. He's a fulfillment of his prophecy. That's what the New Testament
It doesn't say that. That's a fake translation that was falsified.
It wasn't falsified, man.
It says Ka'ari, which means like a lion. It doesn't say Pierce.
All right. Anyways, hold on. I mean, I have to let people know like they don't come correct. You know, I mean, this guy just sort of came in here with a very rugged, unsophisticated approach. Right? It's fine. This is why I have the power to kick people off. Right? This finger could end your whole portion. Okay, let's see. Thoughts on Maimonides' Talmud. I don't know what that means. There's two different works. Maimonides, there's Mishneh Torah, and then there's the Talmud. So Christianity, how is Christianity different from Judaism? Well, Jesus, essentially. But not Jesus alone. I mean, if someone only believed in Jesus but kept all the commandments in the Torah and identified with Judaism, it would officially be a part of Judaism. But right when they believed that Jesus had the authority or his existence was able to change anything that came before, that's when it diverged and it became a different religion. This is what makes Islam a different religion, because they said that we in some way corrupted our source text. So then they claim to have the final proper interpretation of God's will for humanity. So this is why they're worshiping essentially a different God, because his will, as we have it, they believe that we corrupted. So yeah, so Christianity is Jesus and the idea that you don't have to keep laws. While Judaism is kind of law-based. I don't know.
I think the biggest difference is that Christianity introduced the idea that another person can take on your sin and cleanse you off of it, which something that Judaism has personal responsibility.
Yeah, maybe. There's some Jews who do teach that. It's just not in the Torah like that. Right? There is a
that's
statement
not modern notions, but like at that time, right? That if you take traditional Judaism, it didn't have that notion.
Right. Well, traditional meaning like in the Bible itself. Yeah. But it's in the Talmud. It talks about how the righteous suffer for the sins of the many. But from a practical perspective, really, they suffer because the evil directly incur suffering on righteous people. But yes, a righteous man dying for the sins of many is a metaphysical Jewish idea. It's just not in the Jewish Bible.
I don't think they meant it in that way. It's more like, where somebody, does something bad and the whole community could suffer because of it, right? So righteous could suffer for the sins of the evil people in the same community. It doesn't mean that they take on their sins and cleanse the evil ones off of their sins.
So there's a story about Shimon HaTzadik. So Shimon HaTzadik, Simon the Just, I believe, I think he was a priest also. So there are certain things that the Talmud says that occurred when he was alive that ceased to occur after he died. So one of the things was that there was a rope hanging in front of the temple that would turn white is it Yom Kippur, to signify that Israel's sins were forgiven. There's no proof that this rope even existed, right? But anyways, according to the Midrash, it did exist, but in the time of Shimon HaTzadik, because of a righteous man, of course, this is a Midrash, God was in some way able to overlook Israel's misdeeds. Right? I mean, the idea that Israel behaved better just because there was a righteous priest is hard to believe, right? So the idea is not foreign to Judaism. The only thing is that it's not required to be believed. That's the only difference. There's a lot of ideas that appear in the New Testament that also appear in the Talmud, but we consider them optional beliefs because that's not what solidifies us as righteous in God's eyes. On whether you believe someone died for your sins, whether you believe someone died for your sins or not, God still expects you to keep the law and act out the ethics in the Torah. While Christianity is kind of like, I mean, it's an all or nothing belief system. You either accept their whole rendition of how God functions and how sin and forgiveness works, or you're going to hell. So that's the bigger issue, that they have the audacity to control the dialogue to such an extent that they're the only ones who have the proper interpretation to anything. So anyone who's familiar with the Talmud and where these stories appear, they know that the rabbis are constantly arguing, right? So there's some people who take it seriously. I mean, they build whole communities around it, right? I mean, Hasidic dynasties, this and that. But what Jews don't do is go around to other communities who disagree and say that God is not happy with their existence because they happen not to agree with this teacher's or this Rebbe's interpretation. So I think if Jews explain it like that, instead of saying like Jews don't believe this or Jews don't believe that, in terms of belief, it's not a monolith in Judaism. Belief is all over the place. The difference is absolute belief. I mean, something that's objective, that for sure doesn't occur in Judaism. Now some rabbis try to do it, like Maimonides with his 13 principles of faith, but he was attacked greatly at his time. Nowadays, it's a shame that no one attacks the Rambam on the 13 principles like they did in the beginning, because everything's been whitewashed, and I'm the biggest fan of the Rambam. But only because you like someone doesn't mean that you kept this.
I don't know if you're more a fan than me. I have his picture in my profile.
Oh, well, I mean, there you go.
But I think the biggest misunderstanding most people have, even people who study Talmud, is how they read it. Because it's, the way it's structured, right? You have the Mishnah, and then you have the Gemara, and you have a Midrash and Agadah. But the Gemara, the Midrash, and Agadah all brought in order to try to understand the Mishnah and nothing else. It doesn't hold a value on its own. Like the Mishnah and Agadah is not there to teach you something. It's just an example to help you understand the Mishnah better and nothing else. So when people take those out of context as the statements on their own that hold their own value outside of the Mishnah, that's where the problems come in.
That was beautiful. I mean, it was so concise and to the point, and it was just like, yes, this is, you're not going to hear this in any other show, people. My audience is quite advanced.
I do have like a question about like the Talmud. I don't necessarily know what it is, but I did run into like a person who is not Jewish, and they told me that like they were like studying the Talmud, but this person specifically was like, I think doing like practicing magic or something, and he said he like learned it in the Talmud. I don't know.
Yeah, so magic, there's not too much magic in the Talmud, like maybe in the Zohar, but there's silly statements in the Talmud, and there's beautiful statements in the Talmud. Any portion of the Talmud that has nothing to do with law is essentially disposable. This is what most people do not teach, just because they don't want to step on people's toes. But this is how we do it. This is why we have codifications of Jewish law. Codifications of Jewish law are rabbis who took all the laws from the Talmud and they compiled it in one book, or 14 volumes, regarding the Rambam at least, so that you won't have to be confused with all the other extra texts that appear that are not legal in nature. Sometimes these other texts are there to present you the law, but I think they hurt more than they help. But if someone's coming to God, no one's ever come to the belief in God through the Talmud, okay? That's something that you try to put into practice when you're entering a Jewish community, because it deals more with civil law. However, if you want to fall in love with the God of Israel, you have to do it through the words that appear in the Torah, and only in the Torah. And I mean, when King David wrote the book of Psalms, what did he have? I mean, he didn't have books of like on Musar, and he didn't have the prophets. All he had was the Sinai experience, with the story of the Exodus, the creation story. I mean, that's all he had, and he sounds like a Pentecostal preacher, right? So
I thought King David was actually pretty cool. He's like, I think he's one of my favorite characters. Well, not characters, but people. In the text, I don't know. He's just it's really I feel like he's like a very complex person.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that makes sense because you're female and he's like a top G. I mean, he's here like killing lions and bears, and at the same time, he's sensitive and a poet. So, I mean, what's more sexy than that? It's like Tommy Lee and what's this chick? So, yeah, that makes sense. I mean, he's the archetypical male. Unfortunately, most Jews today don't resemble King David. They resemble more like Sheldon the accountant. But hey, whatever. What are we going to do?
Well, like, I specifically liked him because, like, for me, because I didn't grow up Jewish, but I did grow up observing the Sabbath. So I was, like, always reading the Bible and everything. And the story of him, like David and Goliath, like always just like stuck out to me, especially about like the slingshot and how like a small person could just do that. So I think it probably gave me like a Napoleon complex or something, where I always like just like take on challenges that are bigger than myself. But it's like I can just like initiate that and then kind of rely more on God to like sort everything else out as long as I put the effort in. And so I think that's where like it kind of helped to develop me a little bit like mentally and to help me to not be, I guess, like as squeamish. Like I was always getting in trouble like for chasing and beating up other boys and stuff like at church, like wearing dresses and stuff. So but I don't know. I feel like for me, David is more so like a role model because he also, I don't think he, at certain times, he didn't take himself too seriously as well. Whereas, like, I think in the one story where he was embarrassing his wife because he was like dancing and he'd like dance out of his clothes or something. Sorry to bring that topic up. But
Yeah, so that
then,
she
like,
got like jealous. I mean, I don't think it embarrassed her. Well, I mean,
oh,
yeah.
okay. Yeah, but he was okay, that makes sense. I guess like the way that he responded to her was just like was just hilarious to me where he was like, "Oh, well, I'm sure the slave girls didn't have an issue with whatever they saw
What's
or
up?
whatever." I was
Top
like,
G
"Wow."
or
It
top
was just
D?
he's just really funny. So, yeah.
Top D.
Mm.
Yeah.
You know, somebody did this I can't remember what show it was, but they basically did like a comparison of the slingshot with David, and you know, with him being a shepherd, right? Using the slingshot would be something that he would learn from a little kid to deal with wolves and lions and animals to protect the flock. So it would have been, you know, pretty well developed person with a slingshot by the time he faces Goliath. So they did like a comparison, you know, like multiple attempts of having somebody go up against the slingshotter, and assuming that Goliath was using like shield and a sword and a spear, running at somebody with a slingshot, he basically had zero chance. Like it would be over and over, just taken out by the slingshot because that bullet, you know, the rock coming out from slingshot hits you like a bullet, and a headshot will take you out.
Well, it figures. Because
I
he was a
think the important
Palestinian.
part is that he actually like tried though, whereas no one else would try, even when they had
Yeah,
like other weapons and even when they were
correct.
bigger and stronger than him.
If Muslims claim that he was a Palestinian, that's why he's so good with the slingshot. You seen those Palestinians with they're like, I mean, they're like snipers with that thing.
Yeah, I mean, they used to have in the ancient times, they used to have like this type of soldier unit, right? They had the archers, but they also had the slingshotters.
Okay, I have a question. Two
All right.
questions.
Hi.
And then I'm gonna
Welcome.
drop from the panel. Hello. So my phone was hacked, and I don't know if you know what Adon Olam is, but
Yes.
okay. So the Hebrew writings was pasted to my notes on my iPhone, and I took it and I posted it to Google, and Adon Olam came up, and basically the Hebrew writings that were posted to my phone is a part of a song from a medieval, from
Yeah.
a
Adon
Jew.
Olam, Asher Meza,
Yeah, that song was posted to my notes. What? So
It's
I don't know why.
King of the
Who?
world. It means king of the world
Yes, I'm
or
familiar
master of
with.
the world, whatever.
So why was that? Why was my phone hacked? And who posted that? And what's the purpose? And why do you look like that guy from Alvin and the Chipmunks, who is after the Chipmunks?
Yeah, like
It
Alvin,
was
no?
it was the
Hi,
elders
Alvin.
of
That's the
Zion
cool
that who hacked your phone.
What happened?
guy.
I said it was the elders of Zion. They hacked your phone.
I do believe that it was like angels or something because it wasn't God or something because they said I was typing a.
All right, man. These guys got to come correct. This is already. Let's not waste time with these wacky guys. Where are the normal people at?
I don't know.
He called me cute as a chipmunk. So what am I gonna do, right? I mean, the bad. Who was the bad? Was there a bad guy in Alvin and the Chipmunks?
I don't
There
know.
was like the girls. Remember the girls, like Brittany or whatever, like the three girls and the three chipmunks, and then the foster dad, whatever his name
Outside
was.
of the song, I don't know much about Alvin and Chipmunks.
There was a guy in there. You sort of look like him, just a tiny bit, but it's okay. It's okay.
We're the chipmunks. Alvin, Simon, Theodore. Yeah, no, I love that. Cartoon. Yeah. All right, all right. So let's keep it going.
Okay. Ooh. Okay.
I think the question was you wanted to know about Talmud, right? What the
Well,
Talmud is, I guess.
well, yeah, I guess because honestly, that person kind of weirded me out. And I was like, is this stuff that he's like learned in the Talmud? Like, what is he doing? So I like distanced myself from him because at one point, like, I caught him trying to, I think, like buy someone's soul, which was really weird. So that was, yeah, and I was like, okay, I'm just not gonna talk to you anymore. But
It's a shame that religion draws crazy people in, right? And I rather them sensitized with something within religion than out there, I don't know. I mean, stealing my rims. Yeah, that's just something we have to put up with. The problem is when these crazy people become teachers and they start making more crazy people. So that's what we try to limit in this show. This is why I kicked them off quick. But yes, there's a lot of crazy people in religion. And there's a lot of crazy people outside of religion also, but that's because they've adopted. I mean, it's baked into people to be religious, whether it's wokeism, leftism, Judaism, Puerto Ricanism,
or even drugs, really. Yeah. People are like religious about their drugs too. I feel that like people worship, like the addiction is a form of like worshiping their like drugs and everything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Thanks.
All right, so let's do this one more time.
Hello.
What's up?
All right, what's up? I'm listening right now.
Oh, I saw you chatting in the box there. I thought you had something to say. What's your?
I mean, I said it.
Oh, okay. I missed what the conversation was about. But you are a Christian, atheist. What are you?
I mean, when I'm dying or if I'm like really sick, I'm usually Christian.
Yeah.
I'm like, Jesus, help me.
So at least from a Torah perspective, what the Jewish Bible teaches, it doesn't endorse the notion of deathbed confessions because that only exists if you deeply believe in a hell.
Oh shit! So I'm going to go to the Jew hell then. No, there is no Judaism, right? I'm just trying not to get kicked again.
But I know. I'm sorry, too late.
Okay, I'm gonna go study. Oh, I do have a question. Is there a possibility of like finding a mentor that could like, because I believe like in order for a conversion, right, you need a rabbi, but you need someone to, is it that you need someone to mentor you first and then you speak to a rabbi, or you need the rabbi to mentor you?
You need a rabbi first to tell you what you have to do next. So he's going to tell you what classes to go to. He's going to tell you what books to buy, right? Because you're in Atlanta, right?
Well, yes, but I do like travel a lot, so I don't live in Atlanta. I live somewhere else. I can just like write that to you because I don't want to like say it like out loud in front of people.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
But
yeah, all right. So hit me up. You're welcome to bring all your questions onto the live so everyone can learn together. But
okay,
yeah.
So I live like overseas. So like that was just like one struggle of like finding a rabbi that would be able to do it like in the country that I live in, or perhaps like online or something. So that was like the whole thing.
Yeah. So there's no such thing, at least within Orthodoxy, of an online conversion.
Oh, not convert online, just like have like I guess like communications.
Oh, so you're welcome to hop on the show and we could learn publicly, whatever. I'm all over the place depending on what questions people ask. So if people ask good questions, then you'll get edified. But yeah, you're welcome anytime. Let's see. What does this mean?
Okay. I'm going to go educate myself on more Jewish text. Thank you for allowing me to come up and ask questions. I hope you have a great day.
Okay, you too. Thank you. All right, guys, like and follow. Like and follow. The more you like, the more people get on. All right, hopefully normal people. People are asking, Rabbi, are you a full Jew? I don't know what that means. I'm a convert. I may have Jewish blood. You know, if I had full Jewish blood, I would lie and say that I had no Jewish blood just for the sake of saying that if I could become Jewish, anyone could become Jewish. I have an agenda here, right? And it's not that I, care for Jews intrinsically. No. I mean, every aspect of life is good ideas versus bad ideas. And I think with all the issues that Judaism has within it, it's still head and shoulders above Christianity and Islam, in my opinion. And I think that's the best contribution I could give to this planet while I'm alive, to offer Judaism. And I'm not telling Muslims to become Jews or Christians to become Jews. They have their own ethical outlet. If they want to, they could. Fine, right? I am telling people who have no absolute, no moral code to consider Judaism, right? Because I want to leave this planet a little better for my kids, than at least how I found it. And that's it. And this is why I do this every day. That's my contribution. Do I think most Jews are happy with what I do? I don't think they're very grateful, but whatever. I mean, I'll give them what they need, not what they want. That's fine. Okay.
I don't even understand that type of question, like full Jew or whatever. Like, how would anyone know unless you somehow know through your lineage that you're a Cohen, which is some people know that, right? And it's very few. I even doubt some of those claims, because who knows if they know for sure or not, right? They're just trusting that their grandfather knew it and their grandfather knew it, and nobody in the line made it up.
Yeah,
But
it
other
means
than
nothing.
that,
I mean, in
but what
God's
I'm saying
eyes,
is,
it means nothing. All right,
yeah,
you're
but
never
what I'm
Cohen.
saying is the rest of the people on this planet, none of us know, like, okay, I might know what happened in my family for 3 generations, but who knows what happened 400 years ago, 1,000 years ago? Like, there could be many converts down the line somewhere. Who knows? Like, there's no such thing as, like, full Jew or not full Jew. Who cares?
Full Jew. Yeah, I think it's the problem is that when Jews hear it, they don't correct them and say that God doesn't care if your mother's Jewish or not. Right? I mean, they'll just start arguing and making weird claims like, "Well, I can prove that I'm this." Like, who gives a crap? If like you could trace your lineage back to King David, who cares? I mean, from a religious perspective, it makes us sound like blood does matter when we make such a big deal, and it's really because of Zionism. And I think this is if being a Zionist means that you constantly have to claim that you're of Middle Eastern descent, then it's better not to be a Zionist then, okay? Or at least explain yourself properly that according to Judaism, conversion to Judaism is according to some people, it's even greater than being born Jewish, right? At least from a practical perspective, like from a rational perspective, right? I mean, choosing to do something is better than just having something thrust upon you. Although the rabbis in the Talmud actually disagree, but they're wrong on
I
that one.
think it actually, the Torah supports it. I think Dennis Prager says this, where he talks about Moses, and he says that one of the verses in the Torah where it says that about Moses, like how he introduced, and it just says that the man from the Levite married the woman from the Levite, and there was a child, right? It doesn't give you any background story on him because it's not important. It doesn't matter what his lineage is, what bloodline is. What matters is what Moses does, not where he comes from. It's
Right.
completely irrelevant where he comes from.
Which is why what I do will actually help the Zionist argument. I'm not a religious Zionist. I'm whatever. I support Israel for different reasons, but not for what most Orthodox people support it for. But going onto my channel and seeing Indians converting to Judaism, people, very melanated people, right, being embraced by other Jews, doesn't that destroy the notion of Israel being an apartheid state or Jews being racist and secretive? And I mean, I proselytize. I put people in yeshiva. I work for this organization in Israel that put at least in Israel, like birthright kids in like to extend their stay in Israel. But I take people who have no Jewish pedigree, convert them, and try to put them in yeshiva. Doesn't that show that we have nothing to hide? If we had something to hide, then we'd limit it to blood alone, to pedigree, which is what it seems like when we lie by omission and say that one, I mean, well, that Judaism doesn't accept converts, right? Or accepts converts, because although most Jews agree that's true, when a Muslim hops on here saying that or proclaiming that Judaism is a full ethno religion, most Jews stay quiet. So that doesn't help us. But whatever. All right, let's see. Guys, it's moving kind of slow today. So let's make it interesting. Let me see. I'm just going to invite people randomly. Whoever wants to come on, is welcome. Tanya girl. I mean, is this girl Lubavitch or is her name Tanya? All right. So we have
Peace.
Muslims, we have Christians. With my friend Jaime Gordon. Everyone's in the house here. Welcome,
Peace.
Jab the caller. What's up, man?
Peace.
Shalom.
I was thinking about something that I recently learned, that they found a Bible, okay,
Yeah.
in Turkey that's supposedly 1,500 to 2,000 years old, and it contains the Gospel of Barnabas, and it's written in Aramaic on
It can't be that old. I mean, it's probably. I think what the first Gospels, I think it's from 90, right? Maybe 90 AD or CE, whatever you want to call it. And the Gospel, I think the first letters of Paul are 40 CE, so it can't be 2,000 years old.
I think the
I said
oldest ones
15.
are the letters from
I
Paul.
actually said between 1,500 and 2,000.
Mm.
So 2,000 as in not being precise, using a precise number, just using a
Got it.
not so precise number. You know, like saying,
Yeah, we're not Christian
it could be
though.
1,000. It could be 1,900 years old, but 1,900 we round it and we kind of say 2,000. That's what I mean by precision. The precision of the number.
That's right. Yeah, but we're not Christian though. So I mean, I don't know how the Gospels would. And we could talk about. I mean, gospel. I mean, there's many Gospels. There's the Gospel of Mary. There's I think the Gospel of Adam. There's pseudepigrapha, apocrypha, with deuterocanonical. Is that how they say it? Yeah. I mean, who decides what book should be accepted? And this is why I'm not so crazy about the notion of divinely inspired text, just because the Catholic Church decided this should be that, or the rabbis decided that we should include this book and exclude that book. What everyone agrees came from God is what the Bible says. I mean, anyone who believes the Bible is true believes that the commandments were given by God. Whether you call that the Torah, which is not really colloquially the Torah today, because the 5 books of Moses, right? I mean, Moses wasn't given 5 books. Like, he was given the Torah. So it's specifically the commandments within the Torah. That's the only word of God, according to the Torah. You know, but nowadays people quote the book of Nahum as reverently as they quote the book of Deuteronomy. So it seems like we've taken a theological nosedive.
Sure, I know which book he's talking about. Actually, Dave McCallan did a video on this recently. It was been proven as misinterpreted. The book is only like 200 years old or even less. It's pretty recent. It's not something from like 2,000 years ago. It's just being presented as something ancient online, but it's complete misrepresentation of what the text actually is.
Yeah.
Well, the people that actually have the book in their possession, they're not allowing anyone to just examine the book.
I'm talking about, the person who's talking about it is the, sorry, I just want to say that,
if you don't mind, okay?
No, I just want to tell you that the person who I was referring to is the scholar.
I was talking, right, I was talking. I just wanted you to let me finish my sentence.
Okay.
Sentence, not halfway through the sentence. Do you mind?
Yeah, but you interrupted me.
No. You stopped talking, and then I started to talk, and then I didn't finish my sentence.
Go ahead.
So you weren't finished? Is that what you're telling me? You weren't finished?
No. Go ahead. Yeah, sorry. I apologize if it happened.
All right. I mean, I'm saying you made your statement, right? And now what I'm saying is this: that the people who have the book in their possession, they're not allowing anyone to just come and examine the book. So for whoever posted that, the report that you claim that this book is 200 years old, that person didn't have any access to that book to make that claim that the book is 200 years old. So that's a false claim. They didn't get a chance to examine the book. They're not allowing. The book is valued at $28 million. The photocopies of the book are selling for like $1 million. So they're not letting anybody just examine the book. The Vatican has requested to examine it. They're not going to let them examine it. I wouldn't let them examine it. If the Vatican wants to examine it, let them share their library with the rest of us. That's what I say.
All right.
They may
now?
have a gospel of Barnabas that is 1800 to 1900 years old. They may already have a book like that themselves, but they won't. We know that they have a library that they're not sharing with the public. Correct?
Yeah. I mean, I don't think, I'm not even against the whole documentary hypothesis either. I mean, I take a whole different approach to this. I think what makes a book valid is not how old someone claims it is, right? I mean, it's how impactful it is. Because, I mean, the Torah doesn't really say that Moses wrote the whole Torah, right? For some reason, people confuse him writing one set of the tablets of the Luchot. But no, it's become a tenet of our religion that Moses wrote every single word. I mean, I get that Jews believe that, but that's not what the Torah says. We have a tradition that he wrote 13 Sifrei Torah before he died. Fine, okay, whatever. It's called the Torah, but it for sure came through Moses. But who actually put it together, especially when the narrative of the Torah speaks like in the third person, and these people are still alive today. I mean, that type of speech, it shows that people argue over trivial things when they're missing, I don't know, the forest for a leaf. When it's this book that has civilized this planet, specifically the commandments in that book. Let's memorize those commandments, which is not so much. If you extract the narrative, it's like Sefer HaMitzvot, 613 laws, give or take more laws, whatever, or give or take, yeah. But anyways,
just can I respond to what we were talking about? So I know it hurts your belief in that this is some kind of real text, but it's 100% proven scientifically. The person that I refer to is a scholar who works at the university, studies these texts. He can read it in the original language, and he's only referring to somebody else who analyzed it. He's not even the one who analyzed it. He's just citing the sources on it. This book is not what is being presented online is. It's not even the whole 28 million cost and nobody lets you look at it. All of this is online rumors. There's nothing like that in reality. So
I mean, he made a statement, like, you had the rebuttal, but let's move on to someone else on the live. I don't want this to be about the book of Barnabas, and we don't even believe in the New Testament here. Welcome, David Dove.
Hello. David, that's David.
Right. I'm sorry. I'm saying it like an Ashkenazi Jew.
Yes.
David. Yeah. Hi.
Yes. I'm David. I guess I would regard myself as a Christian, but I was gonna convert to Judaism to reform, I think, and I stopped during the process. Yeah, because I noticed how they didn't really like Jesus at all, and I'm so used to Jesus that I just couldn't do it.
No, I hear you. I mean, I wouldn't encourage you to do reform anyways, especially like if you're into Jesus. If you're into Jesus, it makes you believe that you're more of a fundamentalist, like you take the Bible literally, which is what I do. And the reform movement is a bit not serious about religion.
No, they were, they were, I don't know how to say, they accept, I mean, I don't know what your views on gays and stuff like that, but they had like gay members there. I don't know what the Bible says not right. I don't know if that's true or not.
But... right. Yeah, no, it's, I mean, it's not right. Yeah. It's not, well, in terms of the act of homosexuality.
Yeah.
I wanted to say something about this whole notion of scholars. I think it's such a cringy, every time I hear like this person's a scholar, this and that, it's so cringe. I've debated more of these like PhDs and they don't know anything. I'm just telling you, it benefits people to live in Israel sometime, okay? Especially in Yerushalayim, where people like they live and they breathe Torah, and then some non-Jewish person in a university in America, which is not fluent in Hebrew, okay? I mean, these guys, they use the same concordances that the average Christian, and they have the title scholar, and 9 out of 10 times, like this guy Dan McLennan, they're on the left, and they don't even really believe what the Bible says, right? And I'm not saying that you have to believe that what the Bible says to know. I mean, what the Bible's talking about, but I don't know if a Jewish person like should ever call a non-Jewish Bible critic a scholar. I don't. It's just it doesn't even. It's a shame that there aren't enough like Jewish people who want to debate Christians, but these guys really don't know much, right? They just don't. They don't know much, right? And what they know, like you could learn also, from reading articles. They get the title scholar. I think this is where they get it from, because a scholar just means that you're scholarly. But if you publish a few papers on academic.edu or whatever that website happens to be, then people start calling themselves scholars. I mean, it's like in Judaism, like when someone self-identifies as chacham, it's like, all right, I get it. I mean, if you have smicha, as fake as every smicha is nowadays, you can have the title rabbi because it's become like, bishop or priest, right? Colloquially, that we have titles for our clergy. But this idea that this person's a scholar, I think it's the silliest. Yeah.
If somebody has a PhD in the study of this subject, then he is a scholar in the subject. I don't understand why you don't like that term.
What a PhD in a doctor of divinity or a PhD in biblical studies is probably equivalent to a 2-year yeshiva course. Honestly, I mean, these guys rarely know the Hebrew, right? They just critique the Bible. I'm just telling you. I mean, I wish. Just go on my list of debates. I've debated probably like 5 PhDs, and these guys really don't know much. The most knowledgeable PhD Christian out there is Michael Brown. Okay, and everybody knows.
Oh, Michael Brown. Love that guy.
Do I?
I said I love that guy.
Yeah, and he's also not fluent in the Hebrew, right? I mean, it's not. He doesn't know as much as someone who's learned, let's say, even 3 years in yeshiva. I'm just telling you, it just doesn't compare. I mean, I lived in Israel for 5 years, and I went to seminary also as a Christian, and I was ordained as a pastor 20-something years ago. And then I moved to Israel, and I've seen both worlds. And it's just every time I hear just the word scholar, it's just cringy. Now, there's some people who do know, like my friend Nehemiah Gordon is a scholar, but focuses more just, I guess, like Middle East studies in general, right? More in terms of archaeology and stuff like that. But in terms of scholarly in the Bible, in the Jewish world, they quote the Chumash by memory. Like you're telling me the average scholar, doctor of divinity could do that? Not really. It just doesn't even compare.
I don't know. I think you're shooting your own argument in the foot here, because you're saying that somebody needs to be specifically Jewish to understand the Jewish text. Like, why does it matter if they're believing in it or not? They can understand it still.
It's not a rational argument from my perspective, but it's a practical one. It just happens to be this way. I mean, I wish that non-Jewish Bible critics could understand Judaism as well as a Jew does, but they just don't. Jews have made learning into a sport. I'm telling you. I mean, they sing, it's a sport, and sometimes it's unhealthy, because they send their wives to work and they learn in yeshiva all day. I'm against the whole kollel system, by the way. But it just doesn't, I never bought into this whole notion of this person's a scholar and this person isn't. Especially nowadays, with so many tools. There's a lot of people on TikTok here who've never even been to seminary, who know the Bible a lot better than a scholar. I mean, that just has maybe a 4-year degree, and the bulk of that degree is not just on the Bible. I'm not impressed with the title. I mean, this is just my perfect,
I don't think it's the title. It's how you refer to somebody. I'll refer to you as a scholar also, because you studied.
No, but I don't want that. I don't even care if people call me rabbi. I mean, I have the title rabbi, and if Lubavitchers are going to come in here and call themselves rabbi, then I'll call myself. I mean, there's a lesbian rabbi on the thing, and everyone calls her rabbi. I don't care about titles, right?
It's not about titles.
Knows in 2 minutes.
No, but to me, this is just like defining something. So if my job as an engineer, I'm going to address myself as an engineer. If somebody's job is to study the text and analyze them, then he's the scholar. That's his profession. It's not like an honorific title. It's just his occupation.
I just have a problem when Jewish people call other like people who really in many cases know less of the Bible than they do like scholar. It's just like cringy, you know.
But it's an occupation. I didn't give him an honorific title. I meant it as that he's an academic. That's what he does.
Oh, but an academic is different than saying scholar. I mean, scholar
Okay,
means
maybe I used the wrong English word. You know, that's my third language, so maybe I'm using the wrong English word.
I guess it might just be a personal thing.
Yeah.
Fine.
So I have a question for you, Rabbi Asher.
Yeah.
How important is faith in Judaism?
That's a very good question. I don't know. In what sense? In pleasing God, it's almost not important at all, because it seems like God tells you to do something. It's really a catch-22, because you won't want to do it if you don't believe that, or like you don't trust that God knows the reason why you should do it, right? I mean, like he knows what's good for you. So trust is really what faith is in Judaism, right? I mean, you're trusting that God knows better. You're trusting that if you keep these laws, you'll be in his good graces. But being that heaven and hell aren't so, it's not such an evident belief in the 5 books of Moses. From that perspective, faith doesn't really matter, because he says that you'll be able to live in peace. You have rain in your season. You'll see your kids grow old merely by just keeping the laws of God, and keeping them with the right intention, meaning from an ethical perspective, because you could keep almost all the laws and still be a jerk. So I don't know. I guess Kedoshim to you.
But,
yeah.
Like, how would you even do anything without faith? Like, you have to take Torah on faith, because we don't have any evidence of where it came from, right? So you have to take it on faith.
Well,
there's no other way.
But there's some atheistical individuals who have just decided they're going to live by the Torah because it's an ethical system to go by, and it works for the most part. I mean, it's been proven to make societies better, like versus just reinventing the wheel ethically. So that person doesn't really have faith. I mean, I guess he has faith in the practical results that come from living a Torah lifestyle. But if you don't have heaven and hell, but I don't think anyone really truly knows that God exists or is convinced that God exists. Everyone who's honest, I believe, is either an optimistic or pessimistic agnostic. So this idea, like, I believe, and Jews even go further. They'll say, I know God exists, just because the Rambam says that the commandment is to know and not to believe, which sounds wacky. I mean, you're setting an unreachable goal here. I mean, it's hard enough to I don't know. I mean, stay away doing.
Well, I know.
Yeah.
Yes, I know. I know that God exists.
Come on, man.
I
Really?
know.
I also believe that
I
I think God exists. Well, God exists as well.
Yeah, but you believe that God exists, but you don't know that.
No, I know, because he talks to me. I feel like he talks to me.
I used to believe God exists. I used to believe it. Now I know.
All right. I mean, I'm speaking for the vast majority of people. Like, maybe whatever. If God appeared to you, then God appeared to you. God never appeared to me. However, I do believe in God, but I think that the goal is to speak as clearly as possible, so not to whitewash this belief system. So if somebody does come to the religion, they won't feel any resentment if for some reason it's not all you said it was, right? Like, belief in God. I mean, for example, Mormons like believe in this burning of the bosom, and that's like God speaking to them. But I think it's more I mean, it's kind of like it's become a self-fulfilling prophecy. Read this book, the Book of Mormon, and if you feel a burning in your chest, then that's how you know it's true and God is real. I don't think that's very sophisticated. Just because anyone could fake that, especially, I mean, if you believe in the devil, why couldn't he just like warm this area up? Whatever. It doesn't change the fact that the reason we believe in God is essentially because of the Torah. We don't believe in the Torah because of God. Meaning the only thing we know about this God is the loving character, the caring character that appears in our Bible. So regardless, we have to validate him as good. So that takes, I mean, that's more of an action. That's nothing to do with believing that God exists. Also, if you believe
Hold
in
on a
God,
second. Can you
yeah.
hold on a second? Who's making all this noise? Can you mute your microphone? Whoever it is.
Who's that?
Yeah, that's pretty bad.
Is it? I don't know. I mean, I'll just mute people. Let's see. Mute. Okay. All right. Yeah. So, as someone who dialogues with atheists, Christians, and Muslims a lot, I have to be very precise in my speech. The idea now, a Muslim will have no issue saying, "Of course, I believe in God," and if it's become like a man, it's like high school all over again. People just showing off. No, I believe more in God, right? It's like I believe. It's so silly, guys. We're trying to do the best with the little that with the little resources mentally that we have been given. The idea that we know that God exists, it's a silly argument. You can't prove that God exists, and you can't prove that he doesn't exist. All we have is evidence on both sides. There's a difference between evidence and proof. This is
Well,
yeah.
let me add this to that, since you said that. If we had a court case, if we went to court,
Yeah.
right? Okay, and there was a trial, we had a jury, a judge, and one side was to prove that there's a God and there's another side, right?
Mm.
Okay. I mean, what I do, I could bring forth witnesses, I could show videos, you see, and many of my witnesses would say, La ilaha illallah. Nothing would exist if Allah didn't create it, or there is no God except God, the
Yeah, but what did they
source.
witness?
That's a witness.
That's not a
So
witness.
once I bring all these witnesses forward, okay, that's part of my evidence there. Now, then I show you the world, and I explain and I tell you, we talk about how much space there is. You see, we talk about how big the universe is. When you look up at a star, you don't actually see the star, you see light that left the star millions of years ago. Okay, so we talk about that.
Yeah.
And then we talk about the archaeological evidence. All right. The evidence points to the fact that the Almighty punishes factions of people for the sin of idolatry, which is mentioned in the Ten Commandments. Okay. The Almighty has promised that for the sin of idolatry, that he will punish the iniquity of that sin down to the third and fourth generation of them that hate him.
Wait.
Right?
No.
Am I correct?
No. Yeah. No.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
sure it
So
says
what I'm
that, but
saying
I
is,
don't know
if
how.
we look at all the archaeological evidence, we will see that it points to that fact.
Well, we don't
So
have a
that
lot of
that that
archaeology.
proves that helps to prove that this here and these scriptures themselves, okay, the scriptures. Once
I
a
don't think that's going
person,
to
I'm gonna
convince
tell you like
anybody.
this.
I mean, I
Once a
don't think it's going to
person,
convince anyone who's serious.
I
Uh,
think I mentioned this to you before. If you were to listen to the Quran, it would bring you to tears. If you were to sit and actually listen, you would know that it is the truth and that it is from your sustainer, your creator.
I don't.
You would know it. You would know it. Your
I mean,
faith would just
all right.
magnify.
Okay. All
Okay.
right. So I don't. I
These
don't.
are the things that I would
It doesn't even
present.
make sense. You're going to bring witnesses who just
Yeah.
happen to believe in
It could
God.
be a million witnesses. It could be a
Yeah,
court case that
but they didn't
lasts
witness God.
20 years.
Well, they have, okay, their testimony has to allude to the conclusion of the case that
Right. Right.
either God exists or doesn't exist. Not only because a bunch of people believe in God doesn't make God any more true. Okay, you understand?
It may not. It may seem not to, but something that God created us with is reason. Reason.
Yeah.
Reason is this thing that we know that it is right to serve our maker.
No, I
Every
know.
being has this reason. Let me tell you this.
We're trying to
There's a
determine who this
study.
maker is.
Let me I gotta add this to this. There's a study about atheists. If an atheist was given a lie detector test and asked, does he believe in God? He would fail the test.
Come on, man. You know,
And I
I
know you're
don't.
saying, I know, I think you're saying, I know you're saying that.
Look, I
There's
believe in
different,
God,
there's all
okay?
kinds of
You know, but
evidence
I don't
out
know
there,
that God
man.
exists.
Say it
I
again.
mean, I believe he exists, but
You believe he exists.
yes, but okay.
I'm trying to get you beyond belief, though, man. I'm
No, but
not,
it's
not. I can't get you beyond belief.
you
That's
know
up
why
to
I
the
believe God
Almighty.
exists. I'll
Only the
tell you.
Almighty can do that. But
Okay,
but
wait,
I'm
wait, wait,
just
wait,
telling
wait.
you
Hold on,
where
hold on.
I'm at. I'm telling you where I'm at. I know. I don't
Okay,
have any doubt at all anymore. I
I
have
know, but I don't think
empirical
it's healthy.
experience. I've been
It just
shown
sounds crazy.
signs and wonders. You see,
Okay,
so I don't have doubt anymore. It's just I struggle. I just have
got it.
struggle
All right.
with
So I'm going to explain my belief in
my
God,
flesh.
right, or my relationship with God, and why I do this, and I encourage other people to join my religion. I believe that because the Torah appeared when it did, when I mean people behaved worse than animals and gods behaved worse than people. Out of nowhere, you had this book that I don't teach is perfect, but I teach it's head and shoulders above any other belief system around it. Although there's ethical precepts in other belief systems also, right? But for the most part, it introduced consistent ethics or more consistent ethics than the Book of the Dead, the Code of Hammurabi, the Epic of Gilgamesh, and on and on. This makes me feel that something other than man wrote this book. Something, right? And that this being, this author cared enough about me to give me a higher standard to aspire to. This in turn makes me care for him in return, or her, whatever, right? And that's where my religion is contained, and that's it. Now, so I've come to the belief in God because of the Torah. I don't think the Torah is true because God says it's true. I mean, it's just circular reasoning. The Torah makes sense, and it's done more for us than any other book. And this is why when I discuss with atheists, it's hard for them not to pay tribute to the book that has essentially civilized society for them, at least for the West. That's it. That's the healthiest rendition of God. Anything else is not, it's not intellectually honest. And I don't think that you're going to get a lot of college kids converting to Islam on that basis, especially like if they just see a bunch of Muslims saying as proof that God exists, that they just happen to believe it and that they should believe it also. It just doesn't sound, you know, I believe in God and I'm glad that you're Muslim and you're an ethical Muslim. However, I don't think that you're going to get anyone who wouldn't have come alone or wouldn't have come anyways, which is not, I mean, it's nice to get those also, but I'd rather get the big fish, right? The Christopher Hitchens and the Richard Dawkins and the Sam Harrises out there. Yeah, so it's more of a subtle point, but it's not with what's perfect, but what's better. And I think that believing in an ethical God and emulating this ethical God is better than limiting ethics to your own discernment. That's it.
What do you mean by emulating God, though?
Well, we hold that it's a commandment to emulate the God of the Bible. Just like he's merciful, we should be merciful. Just how he's loving, we should be loving. Just how he's made holy through righteousness, that's how we should be made holy also, by keeping his law, being righteous. Yeah.
This is why I like Judaism because it matches Christianity. Obviously, I feel like it matches more. I think
I mean, I
Islam is
agree.
not.
I mean, I think Judaism, in terms of theology, matches Christianity more. In terms of practice, it matches Islam more.
And
So
like I agree with the hell and heaven. I have a hard time believing that hell could be eternal or that you're gonna be suffering for eternal. I think that's like doesn't seem like something God would do. I don't know.
Well, when the end
For eternity.
time won't exist anymore. It won't exist.
why?
So
Why?
why won't it exist? Because
Yeah.
that's what the Almighty has decreed.
Oh, well, not in the Jewish Bible though. You know,
Right.
so.
So I mean, you don't really believe in the hereafter, right? Or the judgment day,
No,
correct?
I do. I do. I just don't think that
I
God
mean,
expects me to believe in it because he doesn't mention it in the Bible. But I think for God to be just, there's a lot of good people who
right.
suffer unjustly, and there's a lot of crappy people who get away with a lot. So there has to be something more. However, I don't think my religion should be built on that because it's just coercion. It's easy to get someone to join your religion just because they don't want to go to hell, right? Or because they want to go to heaven, especially if there's virgins up there or whatever.
Well,
Yeah.
I don't know. The
Especially
book
if
of
there's virgins
Enoch.
up there.
I'm not sure. I gotta. I'll have to make sure I find a verse to see if there's a verse in the Bible about, and I'm talking about the books that you
Yeah,
accept,
no problem.
that speaks about the hereafter and the judgment day. I'm pretty sure there's verses, but at least in some of the books that I guess you don't necessarily, I know that the judgment day is mentioned in the book of Enoch. It's mentioned in that book.
Yeah.
Now maybe Enoch, I guess you might feel like, well, Enoch wasn't the one who wrote it, or it wasn't written around Enoch's time. But
So
I mean,
I
it
don't
is
believe in the
mentioned in
notion
that book. You
of the
know,
word of God. But the only word of God for me are the commandments that appear in the Torah. That's the word of God. Everything else, even the book of Isaiah, all that is not the word of God. That's there to bring you back to the word of God. The job of the prophet is not there to give you his personal opinion or some further revelation. He's only there to point you back to the initial revelation. So the way we view all these books, including the book of Enoch, I mean, if you like the book of Enoch, study the book of Enoch, but you have to understand that it can't be understood as something absolute. It can be understood as an addition to what God already told you that he expects from you. It could be viewed as something optional to believe, but something that brought you closer to God. So it's fine. But the idea that all these books are divinely inspired and that you make like this chulent of different beliefs, that is, I think, what the Torah warns us against when it tells us not to add or take away from God's instructions.
okay, so let me ask you this: where did you get that instruction to not add or take away from God's instruction?
It's in the
Is
Torah.
that
It
in the
appears
Torah?
twice. Yeah, it says "Lo
Okay,
tosef alav velo tigram memenu." Don't add or take away from this. Yeah, and it's also Christians knew that it was such a good idea that they included it in the Book of Revelation, and Muslims
Revelations.
included
Yeah.
it like in the Quran. You know, so it's like it makes sense. A religion needs a cap, right? I mean, you got to cap your revelation, and then everyone keeps on saying that God spoke to me. God spoke to me.
And that's why we
what
got
what
Mormonism,
is the translation of the word Torah? If you don't
It's like
mind,
instruction,
the
literally.
law.
instruction.
Yeah.
And you say that the Torah it is the five books of Moses.
Well, not necessarily. It's the commandments within the five books of Moses.
Okay. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right, I get it.
And you could become Jewish too, my brother.
I am Jewish.
Oh, all right. Okay. I thought you were Muslim.
I am Muslim.
Yeah, I thought you were Jewish.
I
Are
am
you a
Jewish.
Hebrew Israelite? Have you heard of the Hebrew
You
Israelites?
know what? The Hebrew Israelites say that we're the Hebrews, so I can accept that. But for me, from where I stand, Islam is the religion. So Judaism is not really a religion, right? By definition, being a Jew is your heritage.
Yeah, sort of.
But the religion of Jews is Islam. The
Okay, so
prophets,
literally
all the
submission to
prophets,
God.
they
I get it.
practice Islam.
Well, not
Islam
practice.
is
Wait.
submission.
Hold on. I mean, this is like a
Islam, by
Jedi mind trick.
definition,
So,
listen, Islam by definition is submission to the will of God.
not
Simple as
Islam.
that.
The word Islam, not the religion Islam.
You say not the religion of Islam.
Yeah, no, it's kind of like a Jedi mind trick. I mean, it's like, man, if guys would do that with girls, I mean, think about it. If people convert if Jews leave, if if Christians leave Christianity and become Muslim because they're convinced that Jesus was Muslim because he submitted to God, then I could be like, I mean, how could a guy use that to get a date? Kind of like you're looking for love, but my name is Love, so you're looking for me. You know what I mean? All right.
Well, I mean, I think one of the important aspects of Islam is that we do believe in the whole little book. We believe in the Torah. So, but one thing that's important is that, I think I mentioned this. Deuteronomy 18:18 is the fulfillment of that scripture or that
I
prophecy
disagree. I
is
disagree.
Muhammad, the prophet Muhammad. Okay,
Yeah.
Muhammad is the person that is being spoken of in that verse there.
So I
Um,
could explain to you what the plain understanding of who that is talking about. All right. I
huh?
will for everyone
What?
listening there. Okay. So Deuteronomy chapter 18 in general. I mean, I don't know how they would pinpoint one verse in that whole thing and say it's about Muhammad. You have to read the whole chapter in context. It says that when you
Well,
begin to emulate the
we
nations
read
that
it.
you've displaced, right? When you begin to emulate the nations you've displaced, God will raise up for you a prophet. Deuteronomy chapter 18 is the only chapter in the whole Bible that commands you to listen to prophets. If that's not talking about prophets in general, there's no commandment in the Bible to listen to prophets when they come. And then it specifically says, and the prophet that speaks what I do not command him. Meaning, it just went from the singular to the plural. And the prophet that speaks. I thought it was talking about one person, right? No, it's talking about any prophet, because this is the commandment. We have to listen to prophets. Now, so and also there's where we get the notion that I will raise up for you a prophet from amongst your brothers. We have this notion that every prophet post the Torah has to be an Israelite.
Well, listen to this. The theology, the doctrine in the Quran does not violate the Torah. It supports it. It supports it. Okay? And confirms it. That's really the reality. And this message in the Quran is for you. It's for the Jews and the Gentiles, though. Okay? The Prophet Muhammad was sent for all mankind. And the Quran is a guide and a mercy for all mankind.
Yeah.
I'm telling you the truth. If you
I heard
listen
he was
to
married
it,
to
you
a
will
6-year-old.
recognize that truth.
I heard Prophet Muhammad was married to a 6-year-old. Anyways.
Yeah, but that doesn't
That's not
make him
true.
unethical.
That's a report. Let me tell you this. That report is a false report. It's like a tabloid. People they propagate these reports. Okay, for instance, those who oppose him they have a reason to propagate the report because they don't want this religion to be spread. Whatever, for financial reasons or political reasons, they don't want this religion to be spread. And
let me
then
tell you how Islam
then
contradicts
there's the
the Torah.
hypocrites. Let me finish. The hypocrites meaning those who call themselves Muslims who believe who believe this report and actually spread this report. They only believe it or spread it because they're trying to justify marrying young girls.
Okay,
They're
hold on.
pedophiles. These hypocrites, but it's not true. She was 19 years old, somewhere around in that age, not 6 years old. Okay, and these reports were recorded. They were recorded some 200 years after she passed away. Okay, so I mean,
All right, hold
come
on.
on. And so they left out whatever they wanted to put in. Whoever these couple of people, whoever they are, Sahih Muslim and whoever they are, they included what fit their narrative.
Got it.
Okay, and what would satisfy
All right, let me
their
respond
desires.
to your statement
And so don't
saying
let me
that
come
Islam.
see. I'm telling you that the message of the Quran is the truth.
Okay, no, I
If
get
you
it, but you're
listen
preaching
to it,
now.
if you read it, you will recognize this
I
truth.
get it.
It supports the Torah and
I'm trying not to
confirms it.
preach to you. Yeah, so let's have a dialogue. Okay. You said that the Quran or Islam doesn't contradict the Torah. But Islam requires you to believe something, because if someone adds a belief, I don't care if you add beliefs. We have a lot of added beliefs, but when you make it a required belief, then that's the problem. If someone doesn't believe that Muhammad is the final messenger and prophet, then they're not going to make it to the afterlife, or God's not happy with them, or God doesn't validate their religiosity. That on that basis alone, right? I mean, apart from whether you're allowed to eat camel and rabbit and like many other areas where they also literally violate it, but I mean, as a tenet, the main distinguishing factor between Islam and Judaism is accepting this supposed prophet. So it does contradict what God expects from you.
How can you, if the messenger comes with a message from the Almighty and you reject the messenger, then you
No,
have
because the
rejected
messenger
the
can't bring
message.
anything new. I mean, he
But
has
you've
to only.
rejected the message. Okay? He's
Oh yeah,
claimed he has come with the same religion, the same doctrine, that there's only the one God to be worshipped.
yeah, but
One.
that's not the same. No.
He's not setting up partners. There's no setting up partners. There's no
Oh, but that's not an
idolatry.
issue in the Torah,
There's
though.
no idolatry.
Wait, hold on. So only because you worship one God doesn't make you any closer to Judaism. I mean, in terms of how many gods you happen to be worshiping it does, but it doesn't make it the same God in any way. There are many societies that also worship one God, and it was just as foreign to Judaism as I don't know, like Nordic religions. So Yeah.
But there's only one God. There's only one God.
No, I
Okay.
get it. I get it, but
I
that
know.
doesn't
I
mean
know.
it's the
I know.
same God.
I think I understand what you're getting at. A person who says, "Okay, there's here's my one God," and they're worshiping something created that they created with their own hands.
Right.
Okay. Right.
Right. So you could be
That's
a monotheist
idolatry.
and you could be
That's
an idolater at the same
idolatry, and
time, right?
we know to reject that. We know this.
Well,
We're
I don't know
past that.
that.
I mean, me and you, we're past that. So you bringing that to me? No, don't
Okay.
bring that to me.
As that's
There's
against
only
Christianity
one
because
God.
of the
We can
Trinity, I'm
agree on that.
assuming.
There's only one God. There's only one
No, I get it. I
being
got it.
that's worthy of worship. There's only one being
Okay.
that
No, I
that
know. I know.
created
I
the
know.
universe
Yeah, but you're
with.
preaching. I mean, I get it.
Why you say I'm preaching?
No, no, it's
What
because
makes you say I'm
you're
preaching? Because of
that when
the
you're repeating the
inflection of
same
my
thing over
voice.
and over again, it's like you're trying to drill the point. I get it. There's only one God worthy of worship. But we're
Okay.
arguing if it's the
All
same
right.
God in Islam as in Judaism.
So
So in
so
Judaism, regarding prophets, only because someone claims to be a prophet doesn't mean that God is allowing them to give you an addition to the initial revelation. Because not even prophets are allowed to add new things to our religion. Yeah.
do you still expect the Messiah or no?
Uh, I mean, if the Messiah is just a king, yeah. I mean, I think if we get our act together, we may be worthy of having a king one day. As a Superman that flies in the sky, never dies, all this stuff, I don't believe in that. You know, we're not Christian here. We're not, I don't know, whatever, man. All right. Here, Jude Fry. Go ahead.
Yeah, what's up, man?
Hey, what's up? What's your background?
I'm non-religious.
Okay.
I would say actually I do not affiliate with any religion.
Ah. Well, so you automatically sound Jewish then,
Yeah,
unfortunately.
actually I found out 3 days ago I'm ethnically Jewish.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, no,
Yeah,
most Jews aren't too excited about religion, unfortunately.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I went into a synagogue today, so I'm trying to
You were
find out
given
more.
special treatment because they found out you were Jewish, right?
No, well, I guess. I mean,
Yeah, I'm
I don't
telling you,
know.
it's a shame.
I got
No,
a
it's true. It's true.
I
It's
got an email address. We'll see where it goes.
yeah. Well, hopefully we can nudge you in the right direction, square you away, get you married.
Yeah. Well, I'm already married.
Oh, we'll get you another wife.
Yeah. But
All right,
it'll.
David Dove. Or
Yes, it's David O versus
oh, I'm
Goliath.
sorry. I'm
But
sorry.
anyways, but you just call me
Keep him.
David.
Yeah, yeah, David. Hi.
Uh, yeah. By the way, are you converting in Fort Lauderdale? Because I live in Florida.
Oh, I converted like 25 years ago. Yeah, but I'm in Fort Lauderdale.
No, I'm
Yeah.
saying, are you converting over? Are you a rabbi that's converting? Do you live in? I'm Fort Lauderdale. And are you converting over there at the Orthodox synagogue?
Oh, you mean the conversions that I do? The conversions that I do are in
Yes.
Fort Lauderdale. Yeah.
Yeah, because I live in Central Florida, so I'm pretty close.
Oh, well, Central, where?
Kissimmee. I don't know if you know where that's at.
Yeah, yeah,
Kissimmee,
yeah. That's Disney World.
Disney World. Yes.
Yeah. No, I lived in Orlando for probably 6 months. So you're Puerto Rican.
Yeah, I'm Puerto Rican. Yep.
Yeah. Everybody's Puerto Rican.
Everybody's Puerto Rican there. Yeah.
Bendito nene. That's
Bendito
what's up.
nene. Ya tú sabes.
Ya tú sabes. Ajo con gandules. Vamos, papi.
Rolandule.
Vamos para allá. I'm not Puerto Rican. Huh?
You're Colombian, right? Or
Yeah,
Colombian
yeah.
or
My family's from Colombia, but being from Miami, I mean, I know how all Spanish people talk, so we can mimic all
yeah.
the accents.
Nice.
But I know what's up. I actually used to be a DJ. I guess most people don't know this. When I was like 16, 17, but for Spanish music. So, I mean, this is back in the day. So we had like LPs and we had like the milk crates with the records and the two Technique 1200s and the Newmark mixer and the Crown amp and the 15-inch scoops and all that stuff. And so I had, How old are you? How old are you?
Yo, 40. Damn, I just turned 40. I
Oh,
almost
all right.
forgot.
Yeah, so we're somewhat of the same era. So I had like Willie Colon, Gran Combo,
Willie
Jerry
Colon,
Rivera, Eddie
Jerry
Santiago.
Rivera. Heck
Devórame
yeah.
otra vez. You don't know about that,
That's
Jerry
the
Rivera.
good stuff.
Yeah, what? That's
Yo, you
what's
know
up.
music.
Hector Lavoe.
Hector Lavoe, yeah. I mean, those are
Yeah,
salseros. But do
yeah.
you like any the old school reggaeton or not really? You're not really in.
That's after my time. I mean, that's for like the young guys. Back in the day, most people don't know that when you went to a Spanish club, you went all like dressed up nice, this and that. The girls would be sitting in their section or like with their girls in a table with the bottle or whatever, and the guys are in their section. And you go up to the girl and you ask them to dance, right? I mean, it's very formal, very nice. Of course, you have to know how to dance. I mean, salsa is not easy. I mean,
Yeah,
but
it's
right
not
when
that
they
easy.
start
Yeah,
playing merengue, everybody dances because merengue is the easiest thing to dance to.
easy
But
to dance to.
salsa, like the whole dance floor freaking goes empty. Like some Puerto Ricans go up there where there's always some Cubans spinning a lady around, this and that. I mean, I could dance salsa and merengue. I mean, I grew up like dancing with my aunts, like all Spanish people.
Yeah,
And yeah, no, that's what's up. That's just so that's been lost with the whole reggaeton, ratchet style Spanish music.
yeah, that's ratchet. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's good, but it's ratchet. I mean I enjoy it too, but
What do
it's
you even consider Sephardic? Aren't there Sephardic is Hispanic Jewish people or not really? Or is that still, or is that
okay.
Ashkenazim or whatever
So
Ashkenazim?
all right, so Sepharad in Hebrew refers to the region of Spain and Portugal in that area. So what people call Sephardic Jews nowadays, they sort of lump all Jews who are not Ashkenazi as Sephardic, right? But Persian Jews aren't Sephardic, Yemenites aren't Sephardic, Moroccans aren't Sephardic. They're either North African or Persian or yeah, there could be Turkish Jews, but everyone gets lumped in together.
Okay.
Yeah, so Sephardic Judaism is only if you came from Spain, but there hasn't really been Jews in Spain or like a big contingent of Jews for the last 500 years. So in Israel, mostly what you have is Mizrahi Jews, right? Especially since Rabbi Yosef lumped all non-Ashkenazi Jews together by coming out with the liturgy. Like he came out with his own nusach, like style of prayer called Edot HaMizrach. So everybody sort of gets lumped in together because every Sephardic community had their own, not a completely different prayer book, but they had like different, I don't know, what's the term, like gersiot, like versions of the Siddur.
Liturgy, whatever.
Yeah.
Liturgy.
So I've come to the conclusion that Ladino is Spanish, but Jews always try to be
Latino.
different.
Okay.
I mean, just like you Mizrahi Jews are Arabs, but they don't want to say
Yes.
it. But Mizrahi Jews, they're Arab Jews, but they just don't want to
Arabs.
say it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Well, Ladino is Spanish. If you know Spanish and you hear people speak Ladino, and the average person who speaks Ladino that nowadays doesn't speak it correctly. I mean, just because they're so detached from actual Ladino communities, and as someone who speaks Spanish, it's like identical with the exception that they throw in a few Hebrew words and Portuguese, right? And it's anyone, it's Spanish.
Yeah.
But what was your question about what? You said something about Sephardic one?
Oh yeah, because I was gonna convert.
Sephardi have better food. That's the main thing.
Yeah, they have better food, but they're less welcoming.
They're less welcoming. Who's less welcoming?
Sephardic Jews
The
are less
Ashkenazim?
welcoming. No, so there's a
Depends on the
misconception
community.
in the Christian or non-Jewish world that if you're Spanish, you have more in common with Sephardic Jews, and it's not true. You have
Not
more in
true.
common with Ashkenazi Jews.
Well, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I mean, Sephardic Jews will not accept you in their community if you're not fluent in Hebrew, or I mean, once they do accept you, like you're like family, right? But many Sephardic Jews will not marry converts, and I'm not just talking about Syrians. In general, they're very superstitious and they're very closed. While Ashkenazi Jews, even though they're white, they're very open-minded because of their West, because they're more West versus East. So you'll have a lot easier time in an Ashkenazi synagogue than a Sephardic synagogue. A lot easier time. And most Sephardic synagogues don't even do conversions. I mean, the truth is, look, the average Sephardic Jew walks around with a black hat and a coat. I mean, Haredi Sephardi Jews, which tells you who won the culture war. Okay, Yeah, yeah. It's nothing. I'm Ashkenazi. I learned in Ashkenazi yeshivas, and I mean, I have a synagogue 2 doors because I live in a Jewish community, like a very Israeli community. 2 doors down, I have a Sephardi synagogue, and I never go because I almost got in a fight with someone there. I hate Israelis. I hate Israelis. I lived in Israel for 5 years. I can't stand. I have many friends who are Israelis, but the average Israeli, like, I rather daven like by Chabad or Young Israel or just whatever. And it's mainly because of the convert thing. I mean, Sephardim, like if you're a convert, they're gonna look at you like, yeah. I mean, the whole Vaftim at the Ger, Gerlo Tony, all that, flies out the window. Like when the rubber hits the road. Yeah. Anyways, I'm sorry if I'm like a wet blanket.
No, but I was gonna like convert, and yeah, what I didn't like about it, what I do remember, well, for a lot obviously they don't like Jesus, well, they don't want to talk about that, so that's okay. The other thing I noticed is that like you could convert, but not everybody's gonna accept you. I don't like that fact that you can convert and not everybody's gonna accept you as being, a convert. You know what I'm saying? Like I didn't like that.
So, okay, it depends. I perform conversions. I would say probably around 50% of the synagogues accept my conversion. The average conversion done by the RCA, RCC, like a more reputable organization, is recognized by probably 99% of Jews, unless you're Syrian, but they don't accept any conversions. So most people go by what the state of Israel recognizes. If the state of Israel recognizes your conversion, almost any synagogue will let you in. I mean, like maybe Satmar wouldn't or something, but they probably wouldn't care as long as you're religious. Just because Satmar doesn't endorse the state of Israel. Yeah, so it wouldn't be an issue. Like if you go through there's a list online of organizations that are recognized by the state of Israel. It's called the ITEM list. ITEM. ITEM or ITIM. Yeah. And it shows you all the courts worldwide that are recognized by the state of Israel for conversion. I don't believe in this notion. I think according to Jewish law, anyone could perform conversion. But whatever, I encourage you to get the most recognized conversion out there because there's going to be a lot of doors that are going to open for you. I perform conversions more for people who can't convert because they don't live in a Jewish community or they want to start a community or something like that.
Well, is there a community here in Central Florida? There is, right?
Yeah. Well, not in Kissimmee. Well, there's one in Mount
Orlando.
Dora.
On Mount Dora, I know where that's at.
Yeah. So Mount Dora. Hold on a second. This thing is messing up. Yeah, so Mount Dora has a Sephardic synagogue that is pretty friendly. Like they're welcoming. The guy's name is Rabbi Haim Solomon, and he's a friend of mine actually. But if you convert to him, he's going to send you to me to convert you. Apart from that, I don't think there's any other Sephardic synagogue up there. There's a lot of Chabad, and there's one Ashkenazi synagogue that, last I checked, met in someone's house. In Dr. Phillips. I don't know if you know where Dr. Phillips is.
Yes, I know Dr. Phillips. That's very close to where I live. I mean,
yeah,
pretty
so
close.
That's where the kosher market is in Orlando. Like in the Winn-Dixie there, like that Winn-Dixie has a whole kosher section where they have all the kosher meats and stuff.
Yeah, I was converting in the JWC. I think that was an organization. I don't know if you heard of it. It was in Buffalo, JWC. I forgot what it stands for. Jewish.
I don't know.
I don't remember anymore.
Yeah, but I mean, you believe in Jesus, right?
Yeah, I believe I like the whole thing is that I really like Judaism for whatever reason. I just do, and I think part of it is because I did a DNA test and it shows that I'm like I was 10% Jewish, and I was like, oh, cool. And I
Oh,
already
that's
like
not good
Judaism.
reason.
I know, and I already
Found
like
that you were
Judaism anyway.
like Arab, like, would you become a Muslim?
No,
No,
I don't feel close to that one at all. I don't feel close to them. I just don't. I mean, if you think about it, the Old Testament it is the Jewish Bible, so I feel close to that.
All right, I encourage you to convert. The truth is, they won't convert you if they know you believe in Jesus. So
yeah, that's what I heard. That's what I heard.
Whatever, so do what you got to do.
What about the Messianic Judaism? But nobody believes in them, and nobody accepts them.
I mean, they believe in themselves, so that's
Honestly, if you believe in Jesus, you shouldn't convert because that's antithetical to Judaism. So you can't be in two camps. It's like, that saying, you can't stand on two separate platforms, right? You got to pick one and stick with it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I see what you're saying.
I mean, I agree with what Ruben's saying partially, but I believe that someone could believe in Jesus as long as they keep commandments and they believe in the oral law and the written law. So I don't see it as such a hindrance, but the truth is, no synagogue is going to convert you, and no one's going to, there's no point in converting if you're not going to be part of a community. So
Yeah,
Correct. That's what I was going to say. The biggest issue for you is going to be is right. The community has an understanding. We have a culture. It's not that you're only joining the belief system. You're also joining the community. You're joining the culture. You're joining, like, you're becoming part of the people, right? So you're not just joining to continue being who you are. You're joining to become somebody new. And you can't bring your old baggage with you to something new. That it just doesn't work like that.
I got a question
yeah.
for you. I got a question for you, Rabbi Asher.
yeah.
What did Jesus do that prevents Jews from believing in him?
He says he's God. That's why, I think.
So what do you
No, he
mean by
just didn't do anything. What he would need to do something for us to believe in him. Like it's the question is phrased in the wrong way because he hasn't accomplished anything for us to believe in anything.
yeah, but if this guy's Muslim, but then he doesn't believe Jesus is God. So the Islamic version of Jesus then would be more palatable to the average biblical Jew then, right?
Great.
No, but what he's asking, what did he do that we don't believe? Meaning that he did something wrong and somehow caused us not to believe. But
So what did he
that's
do?
not. He didn't do anything. Like what would we believe in? What would he
What
be?
would cause you? What causes? What I'm saying right now, Why do you reject Jesus as
I don't
a
even know if he
prophet?
ever existed. I don't have any like. So what would I believe in? Just because somebody told me that there was a person like this? And even if he existed, so what? What would I believe? That there was a Jew named Jesus? Okay, big deal. So
If
what?
Jesus said he was God, then you should reject him. Okay, definitely. So that's why I
Okay,
asked
but
you,
what if he didn't say he was God? What would I believe him to be? As a
well,
prophet?
I mean,
What did he do as a prophet?
if you were to study his message, if you were to study the gospel, and I'm stressing particularly the gospel of Barnabas. Okay, if you were to study that particular gospel and actually read what Jesus was teaching in that gospel, then I know you would recognize the wisdom of it, the knowledge of it, and the salvation in it.
Salvation from what?
Pardon me?
Salvation from what?
Salvation from sin, so that you can remain on the straight path
In
and avoid
Judaism, we do
sin.
not believe that somebody else can save you from your sin. It's your responsibility to do it.
I didn't say that Jesus was Savior. I'm telling you that his teachings. If you study his teachings, if you obeyed his wisdom, applied the wisdom that he taught to your life,
Mm.
it would affect you in that way that you could become holy. Okay, a
Okay,
person
so
could truly become holy if they follow Jesus' teachings.
okay,
Um,
so
but the
so
thing is, if
really
you don't
quick
know,
question.
I'm sorry, I
Yeah,
cut you off.
quick question about this. So God revealed his teachings, the Torah, through Moses. If whatever the God sent through Jesus was so important, why wasn't it sent through Moses? Why did we have to wait 1700 years? All those generations didn't deserve that message?
They didn't need it because they, like you said, at that time they had the.
You went on mute.
And according to Jesus in Barnabas, he says that if they hadn't,
I don't know if it's your connection or something, but I only get like one or two sentences from you, and then you go quiet.
I know my phone rang. My phone. I'm
Okay.
right. What I'm using. Can you still hear me or not?
Yeah, now I can hear you.
All right. I'm sorry. My phone rang. My phone rang. All right.
Okay.
And I mean I ignored the call, but that's what affected the connection there,
Yeah, yeah.
and it's
I
messing
understand.
up
I'm just
now.
saying that I
So
missed whatever you were
I'm
trying
gonna
to
go.
say. I didn't
Can
hear
I
it.
drop down? Can you bring me back up, Rabbi Asher?
Uh, well, let's just change from this. Like, I don't want to talk about Christianity anymore. Let's. I mean, I do if someone else wants to talk. Let's. Yeah, but let's not limit ourselves here.
I think it's actually a good topic from the perspective of to understand what really distinguishes Judaism from Christianity, because Christians think that the difference between Judaism and Christianity is we don't believe in Jesus, but that's not true at all. That's a minor thing. It's the whole theology is very different.
Well, so someone in the comments is asking, what do I think of Ariel Cohen or Laurel? Most people don't know. So I have a whole list of people that I've debated, and I tried to add them to that list. I called him once, and I had a discussion for, I don't know, 25 minutes, and the whole time he spoke, and it was just like a mystical joyride. He's way too mystical for me to, like, for at least me to have a dialogue with him about religion. And he was just like, I mean, he just sounds like your average secular Israeli who becomes Christian, which is what typically, I mean, most Christians in Israel don't come from the Orthodox world. They come from like the like the Chiloni world, which is fine. I mean, I rather than become Christian than remain Chiloni. But yeah, I mean, I had a dialogue with him, and it wouldn't have been good for for audio. All right. Welcome, Vanilla Gorilla.
What's going on, man?
What's up,
Hey,
man?
Vanilla.
What's up? So,
Okay. I'm curious to know what happened to you. How did you change
so
your
even the
stuff?
Muslims try to get you to believe in Jesus, huh?
Yeah. No, this is an open platform. As long as people aren't too long-winded, just because we have to keep it concise, we have to keep it going. So someone's asking, what happened to my hashkafa? I mean, I've always, I mean, for the last, when I was in Israel, I guess I used to have peyot, like side locks or whatever, and I had more of a beard. But this is because I lived in a settlement. I guess whatever. Zionists hate the word settlement. But I've always believed the same. I mean, at least on social media. Let's see. No, but hashkafically, I haven't changed.
What, did you have a long period before?
Yes. Yeah, no, just look at my videos, my early videos on YouTube. I had peyot, and it's because I lived in Kohav Shachar. That's in the Shtachim. And it's kind of like the uniform there. And then when I moved to America, back to America, I left it for a little while because it's like a tactic. Anyone who walks around with a long beard, with the exception of Reuven, I mean, they do it just for kavod, right? For honor, and I guess I don't know for honor. Just I mean to show off. I think Jesus is right in this. Right, or long coats, especially in South Florida. Why are you going to dress like Polish nobility when it's 90 degrees? It's kind of a joke. It's
I grow a beard because I have no chin, so I look more manly with the beard.
All right, so someone's asking if I ever met Michael Skobac. No, but I had 2 dialogues with him that I actually have recorded, but he told me don't put up. I mean, not that he did bad in the dialogue, but he just didn't want me to put like our dialogue together.
I've met him. I spent Shabbat with him.
Yeah, so I'm not a fan of these counter missionaries, and I don't think they're very coherent in their Judaism, honestly. Right, and if
he's a super nice guy, though. Like I said, I spent Shabbat with him. He's a great person.
But the average guy, I'll tell you, with the average rabbi is doing a job. Right, this is how this is where they get their parnasa from. This is how they support their family. Right, so they work for an organization that has at its core the destruction of Christianity. And this is what they get paid to do, and this is what their budgets cover, this and that. That means their theology doesn't progress. Tovia Singer believes the same thing today that he did 20 years ago, and it doesn't change because it's a script. I don't have a script. I'm not. I mean, you guys are welcome to send me donations, but I'm not afraid to offend people, and I'm not trying to be accepted. I don't care to be accepted. So that's the difference. If there'd be a debate with a counter missionary and myself, I would first get them to explain to me how halakha functions, and just on that alone, it'll show that we belong to to essentially different religions, because they're typically extremely mystically inclined, although it doesn't appear on the audio as you're debating Christians, because they hide that. So when these kind of missionaries debate Christians, they debate them from a Karaite perspective, which is not what they personally believe, just because they want to win the argument. So they'll say Jews don't view Satan like this, Jews don't do that. Almost every idea in the New Testament appears somewhere in rabbinic literature. I'm not saying that I believe it, but it's there. So that should be enough to at least say, look, let's just put this debate aside. How serious are you about keeping commandments? Because that's really how we separate the world, between people who keep commandments and people who don't, not people who have a less sophisticated understanding of the complexity of God. So this is why I think that these guys are wasting their time, and anyone who donates money to them is wasting their money, because there's no war with Christians trying to convert Jews, because it just doesn't happen. The average religious Jew, at least, never converts to Christianity. Secular Jews, good luck to them. Convert every atheistical Jew to Christianity. Okay, I'd rather have them as ethical Christians than unethical Jews. That's it. But yeah, that's my whole stance on this. Anyway, it's fine. But not to mention that all these guys also, they're very pro-Muslim, by the way. Tovia Singer, and they're always like, they'll say, like, how can you call Islam idolatry if Tovia Singer says it's not idolatry? Because these guys really don't think. They just sort of parrot art scroll Judaism, and they're whatever. It's just frustrating.
I think same way too. I support Islam, not Christianity.
Oh, well, okay, there you go. Well, they don't support it like for reasonable reasons. They support it because it's popular to support it. Most people in this area, when it comes to Christianity, they all become Sephardi, because the Ashkenazi approach is that Christianity is not idolatry. This is how the Ramah holds, Rashi holds, Tosfos holds. These are the Ashkenazi rabbis. It was the Rambam and all the rabbis that came after the Rambam, Sephardi rabbis, who held that Christianity was idolatry. But because of affluence and boredom in the West, and because Christians are so nice to us, they're the ones who are the easiest to dislike, and this is why everyone is anti-Christian in the Jewish world. When even according to Jewish law, at least for Ashkenazim, they shouldn't be, because according to Ashkenazi Jews, not that it's not idolatry. They do believe it's idolatry, but it's not idolatry for Gentiles. But it is idolatry for Jews, they'll say.
Yeah.
Right?
For me, it's different reason. For me, I think I told you before, it has to do with law, right? In Islam, they keep the law. In Christianity, they abolish law. To me, that's the issue. That's why I support Islam and not Christianity.
Because it's law-based. Not because it's necessarily the same law. So Christianity, it's interesting. It is, okay, they can't articulate really where their values start and end, right? And they sort of push everything ceremonial as disposable. But in terms of ethics, they're jam-packed with them, right? Christians are ethical people, very ethical people, even though they have a hard time articulating or like making a connection, like I keep this law because it's in the Bible, I keep that law because it's in the Bible,
But when you don't have a framework where everybody can decide for themselves what is or isn't ethical,
Well,
then
they
that's the
attribute
problem.
Jesus to follow Jesus, and he was a Jew, right? So he followed Judaism, I'm assuming, and that's why if you follow Jesus, then you're following laws, I guess.
No, but what I mean is, like, you can't have idea of like, okay, this is what I think is ethical or not ethical based on your personal understanding of the book, right? You have to keep the law as the communal law as it's given. So, like, Judaism has a set of law, the halacha, Islam has a set of law, the Sharia. Christianity doesn't have anything organized, that they will have a structured way that somebody can say that it's not ambiguous, it's not subjective, but it's objective list of laws that they have to keep.
Yeah, but they've done a lot with a little then, because Christians do a lot of good on this planet. So overall, I mean, I don't know how they do it then, because they are extremely ethical, and I think Muslims have learned in terms of even of how they do dawah, right? I mean, like the John Livingstons that would go to Africa, to a little village, and preach the word of God and get killed. I mean, they essentially martyred themselves and for the sake of God. Yeah, all right. I mean, it's not perfect, but it's better than nothing.
Yeah, I think this is why there's so many branches, is because there's so much ambiguity, right? Although Judaism became same thing nowadays, right? We have like 5 billion sects.
Yeah,
so
but
it's
we
the same
tolerate
idea.
each other. I mean, that's the difference. Like most of them don't tolerate each other.
Yeah, I think that's more cultural than religious.
Yeah,
So,
that's a big difference. Yeah.
so today, keeping the laws, so is it subjective on what laws you can actually keep as an individual or a
Well, I mean, you should
community?
try to keep every law that you're able to keep. Yeah, but we can't build a temple. I mean, okay, we could build a temple nowadays. I guess we don't, but we can't offer sacrifices because we don't have a temple. We can't unalive people formally because we don't have a court. I can't keep laws that pertain to women because I'm not a woman. So there's yeah, we're limited.
I don't know. I'm actually curious. Why can't we build a Mishkan? Why do we need the specific one in Jerusalem? Why can't we just build a Mishkan?
So this is where the show becomes heretical, and we don't use words like heresy here anyways, but for the haters. Nowhere in the Torah does it tell us that we're limited to where we build the Mishkan, which is essentially what became the Beit HaMikdash, which is the same thing. There's no commandment to build a Beit HaMikdash. There's a commandment to build a Mishkan. A Beit HaMikdash is a Mishkan with a stone base on it. Fine. It's only in the writings and the prophets that it gets us to believe that God said that Jerusalem is the final place. But anyone who reads Jewish history, it shows that it moved around. It was in Shiloh, it was in, I think, Gilboa. It moved around in different places. Now, that leads me to believe that it could continue moving. And this is why, after the destruction of the Second Temple, the Chachamim went to Yavne. Why? Because when the Torah says that we have to build the temple where God chooses, God never chooses. It's the judges, the priests, and essentially the king that is God choosing. I mean, his people are making the choice. Because the commandment to listen to the Sanhedrin is that they shall rule from the place that God will choose. So at what point it was in what's called the Lishkat HaGazit, in the Temple Mount, but when that was compromised, it got moved to Yavne. So, oh no. What happened? Did it go off? No, it's still going. That is so weird. Yeah, it kicked everybody off.
Yeah, it was a TikTok glitch. It happens sometimes.
This is the first time it's ever happened to me.
I've seen that happen before. It's a TikTok glitch.
So you've graduated to Asher Meza School of Heresy. A Torah True Jew. It's interesting. Well, there's an organization called Torah True Jews, but they're like an extension of like Natur Carter or something. But Torah True Jews have to acknowledge that we're not limited to Jerusalem, because not even Tanakh could add to the Torah, or Nach can add to the Torah. Also, like when someone says that we can't have prophets today, nowhere in the Torah does it say that God's going to limit prophecy. It's only a Midrash that says this. But people...
So,
yeah.
Who would have to give the command to build a temple?
Me. Now, do it. Let's do it.
Yeah. We decide in this life to do it.
We had the Temple Mount in 1967, and we gave it back to the Arabs, or to the Muslims. I'm sorry, I don't want to attack all Arabs. You know.
Yeah. Hello there. Good morning from this side of the world.
So
Yeah.
it doesn't say that it has to be a place that God chooses?
Yes, but a place that God chooses means the people of God. Because every place where God chose in Jewish history, it was the priests, the judges, or from King David's perspective, King David, right? Kings. So that's what it means. I mean, it's not that a voice from heaven is going to say it's this place. So,
well, it's by simple and example that they had the portable temple while they were in the desert at the time of Moses, and then at the time of Joshua, right? They carried around this portable temple. So there is nothing in the Torah that says that you will come somewhere and build a stone temple. We are given very specific instruction on how to make this portable temple, and that's it. So there's no reason. That's why I'm asking. Why can't we just do it now? What are we waiting for?
So the measurements and everything is the same on the top of the temple, right? Because it has to fulfill the exact requirements for the Mishkan. But just the base, like the whole, like retaining wall, all the embellishments that were added later on by King Solomon, that doesn't have to be duplicated. That, it could just be a tent, and that's what it was meant to be, like a portable, sukkah or whatever.
Yeah. And if you look at the Torah, everybody was doing their own sacrifices except for the festivals. Right? In every town, they did their own stuff. And they would go to the temple for festivals, but not every day.
So do you have to make a pilgrimage to Jerusalem for some of these feast days?
No,
to the temple.
Right, to the temple. Yeah, but not Jerusalem in particular. But people weren't offering sacrifices wherever. I mean, it specifically says that you're not allowed to build an altar. It says bamot, like high places, whatever, outside of the place where God chooses. So people could only offer sacrifices after the Torah was given. I mean, Noah offered sacrifices, obviously. So
hold on, let me find. Maybe I'm wrong, but let me look it up. I think it's Deuteronomy 12. Hold on. Oh, go ahead. Sorry, I don't want to interrupt.
So there's one example in Tanakh that contradicts the Torah, and that's the story of Elijah on Carmel, where he was in some way, he brought down the fire from heaven like in a mound that he built, and it's a literal contradiction to the Torah. So the Rambam, of course, tries to save face. Right? Of course, we don't explain the Torah like Muslims explain the Quran when they're asked to try to validate the legitimacy of the Quran, as much as Reuven sides with the Muslim live on my show. So the Rambam says this teaches that a prophet could change a law temporarily, only temporarily, but it has to revert back, just to save face that Elijah actually broke the Torah by building an altar outside of the place that God's sanctuary was.
Well, okay, this is what I was talking about. Maybe I'm not understanding it right. So in Deuteronomy 12, starting at 13, 12:13. So it does say that you can only do burnt offerings at the temple. So it says, take care not to sacrifice your burnt offerings in any place that you like, but only in the place that God will choose in one of your tribal territories. There you shall sacrifice your burnt offerings, and there you shall observe what I gave you. But whenever you desire, you may slaughter, you desire, you may slaughter and eat meat in any of your settlements according to the blessings that God gave you. And the impure and the pure alike may partake in it, and so on. So this is what I mean. Like the blood sacrifice could be done anywhere. It's just the burnt offerings.
No. Okay. So initially, the only command that Jews had that allowed them to eat meat was only attached to sacrifices. Mm-hmm. That means they were only allowed to eat meat that was sacrificed to God. This is saying that anywhere, if you read it in context, it's Moses, and not God saying this, but Moses says that he's allowing you to eat meat outside of the sacrificial system, and you could slaughter it wherever you happen to be. The same blessing, but that
Yeah, but none of the prophets spoke on their own power. I mean, it was all guidance. They didn't just, pick stuff out of their pocket and say, "Okay, this is what we're doing."
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Moses does
We're
it.
talking more about like specific. I'm just curious about. So you're saying that this is not talking about sacrifice, but just in general that you can eat meat anywhere, right?
Correct.
But it.
This is the command that we have to eat meat that's
Mhm.
not sacrificed on the altar. As a matter of fact, a Muslim person, and when they were chopping his head off, they said the same blessing that they do when they slaughter an animal in Islam. So it's a similar system. Lahabdil, obviously.
It's the same thing, man. It's the same thing. We just have the latest version.
There you go.
We just have the latest word from the Creator.
Yeah. It's like Judaism 2.0.
Kind of.
Well,
So
the
yeah.
thing is with the Christianity that we dislike is the Trinity. The most important thing is, as Brother Rovan said, is the law. For us, is the most important thing is the Tawheed, or the oneness of God. And that's where we differ so much with Christianity, where they have the Trinity indoctrinated.
Yes, I think Muslims, they should just get over that. No, seriously.
The Trinity thing, you mean?
Why?
I don't care about Trinity also. I'll argue it Trinity just from the logical perspective because it's completely illogical. But I don't care. Like if they kept the law, I don't care if they believe Trinity or not Trinity. That's not affecting anything.
But
Trinitarians
it does though,
don't
because
even know
it's
what
taking
the Trinity is.
Here, look.
a prophet
So,
from the
But see,
lineage
for
of
us,
Abraham and
we
Moses.
believe in, that there are Christians. We do not call them Christians, but we call them followers of Jesus, and they are Unitarians, and that's what we believe, that those are the people of God,
no,
like the
okay.
Jews.
But what I'm
Not all
saying
Muslims
is
believe that. But the vast majority of Muslims.
being confused about belief. It's in your head. It doesn't affect your actions. What matters is your actions, right?
With the notion that Muslims only
action,
consider.
but if your action is not according to one God and to many gods, that's also different. You can be good in action, but to a different God.
So I don't think Christians believe in different gods, right? I mean, they believe in one God expressed into like 3 different forms. I know that's hard to believe. I don't believe that, right? But it seems sort of trivial. What Muslims did, they invented what I call cannibalistic monotheism, meaning over something so trivial, you guys are going to eat each other over it. When the term monotheism is not even a Jewish term. God never expected the Jewish people to argue in his behalf on the basis of of his unity, right? Yes, we believe God is one, but if a Christian wants to come around and say, yes, we also believe he's one, but because our text in some way is ambiguous in the notion that it might be a compound unity, that on that basis they're worshiping a completely foreign God. I don't, and kick people out again. I don't know what's up with my connection here. Can you hear me? All right, I think my internet is like dying here. Can you hear me? You keep freezing. How? All right. Anyways, on that note, yeah. All right. Good night, guys. Take it easy. Wait a minute. Oh, it's working now? Can you hear me now? Yes? No? All right. Seems to be working. Okay. I guess we could try this. Or try one more time. Let's see. It's not working for me. All right, anyways, fine. It's not working. We gave it a good run anyways. Yeah, we're probably in 2 hours already.